It's funny. When you think about it, like when you're trying to solve a really tough riddle, ever notice how you kind of start talking it out, almost like you're trying to connect the dots out loud? Turns out that's not just us procrastinating, it's actually, well, a pretty clever way to work through problems. And guess what? OpenAI's newest AI model, O1, it does something surprisingly similar.
It really does. And that's what we're diving into today, the world of O1. And the thing is, this isn't just your typical AI hype. What sets O1 apart is this. It doesn't just give you answers. It actually thinks things through, step by step.
Mm.
OpenAI calls it chain of thought reasoning.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like, those detective shows where they've got the whole case laid out on a whiteboard, connecting the clues.
Okay, so not just another chatbot, got it. But what's that look like, in action? Give me an example.
Picture this, a hardcore coding challenge. We're talking top-notch programmers, really going head-to-head to crack complex code. Now, older AI models, they could kind of fake it sometimes. They'd spot patterns in the code, maybe spit out a decent answer. But O1 took on these challenges and landed itself in the 89th percentile, meaning it's doing better than almost 9 out of 10 human programmers.
Hold on, 89th percentile. That's not just good for an AI, that's beating a lot of really talented people.
Exactly. And it gets even wilder. Remember those crazy hard math Olympiad problems, like the stuff that made your brain hurt back in high school? O1 tackled those too. And it scored high enough to qualify, alongside, get this, the top 500 students in the whole U.S.
Okay, wait a minute. So we're talking about an AI that codes like a pro and solves math problems that would make most people's heads spin. What's next? Is it going to start writing poetry?
Well, funny you should mention that. While it's busy, dominating coding and math, it seems creative writing isn't really its thing just yet, at least not in the same way. But keep in mind, this tech is still super young. What's mind-blowing is how O1 is showing such advanced reasoning, almost like a human brain. It's just in different areas.
Okay, so we've got this AI that can solve problems like a person, but maybe needs some work on the whole creativity front. What I'm really curious about is this. How does it actually do that thinking thing? What's the secret sauce?
That's where things get really interesting. OpenAI, in their announcement, they gave this example of O1 having to crack a code. Now, even if you don't understand code, the way O1 went about it, it was totally different. It actually laid out each step of its thought process, just like imagine someone solving a logic puzzle out loud.
It's like it was putting a puzzle together, right? Instead of just like randomly trying things until it hit on the answer.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not about just knowing the answer instantly. It's about that journey of getting there, the whole chain of thought.
Mhm.
And this is where it gets really cool. Remember that graph we talked about earlier? The one showing how O1, how it actually gets better with time?
Yeah, that was wild. Most AI, they have their thinking time and that's it.
Right. But O1 keeps getting better the longer it's allowed to, chew on a problem.
So wait, are you saying like if we gave O1 even more time to think, it could solve even more complex stuff? That's kind of mind-blowing and a little bit, I don't know, intimidating.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Like, what if we gave O1 a problem that stumped scientists for decades? Or, asked it to design a solution for climate change? It's like the possibilities are, while still theoretical, they're just incredibly intriguing. And that actually brings us to another thing that makes O1 different, this whole thinking like a human thing. It also means it's more transparent than other AI.
Okay, transparency. That's a big word when it comes to AI. What's that mean in this context and why should we care?
Well, you see, with older AI models, it was often like a black box. You put data in, get data out, but what's happening in between? Who knows? But with O1's chain of thought reasoning, we can actually see the steps it takes, almost like we're reading its mind.
So it's like having a window into how O1 thinks, right? We can check its work and make sure it's not, going all Terminator on us.
Exactly. And that's huge for making sure it's used responsibly.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better, especially with all the, worries about AI becoming too powerful. But let's be real, even with all this cool stuff, O1's not perfect, is it?
You're absolutely right. It's amazing at things like logic, reasoning, problem solving. But there are some areas where it's still got some catching up to do, like take creative writing, for example.
So no Pulitzer Prize for O1 anytime soon. Maybe it needs to hit the books, read some classic literature instead of just code and equations all day.
Maybe. It makes you wonder, why is that? Are our brains just wired differently for creative stuff versus, like, hardcore logic? Or maybe O1 just needs more practice, more exposure to different kinds of writing. After all, even the best human writers, they didn't just spring out fully formed.
True, true. It's easy to forget that this tech is still so young, still learning. We've seen what O1 can do now, but what about tomorrow? What happens when it's had even more time to learn and evolve? I gotta say, my head's still spinning a little bit after that last part.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear about AI, in the abstract, but when you really get what O1 can do, it's like, whoa.
It really is something, isn't it? Kind of awe-inspiring. Because if I step back for a second, O1, it isn't just about solving equations faster or, writing code. It's about changing how we think about knowledge, about solving problems, even as a species.
Okay, so let's talk about those changes then. What are some ways O1 or whatever comes after O1, how could this actually impact our world? What about research, education, creative fields, just everyday life?
Well, let's take research, for example. Imagine scientists. They've got this AI partner, and it can go through tons of data, more than any human ever could. It can spot patterns we'd miss, could even come up with new ideas, solutions that we haven't thought of.
Like having a whole team of, I don't know, super-powered research assistants, but they don't need coffee breaks.
Exactly. And then think about education. Personalized AI tutors,
Mm.
right? Each student, they'd have this AI that knows how they learn best, what they're good at, what they struggle with. It could make learning, well, more engaging, more effective for everyone.
And what about, like, the arts? We talked about how O1, maybe not a novelist just yet, but could it be a tool for artists, musicians, designers, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Even if O1 never writes a symphony or paints a masterpiece, it can still be this amazing partner, helping artists get unstuck, explore new ideas, you know, push the limits of what's possible.
It's almost a lot to take in, isn't it? All the possibilities, the good and well, maybe the challenging ones too. It's like we're at the very start of something huge here, a shift in, well, everything, really.
And that's what's so exciting, the unknown.
Yeah.
O1, it's a reminder that we're living in a time of just incredible advancement. And while we can't predict the future, one thing's for sure, this is only the beginning.
And that, dear listeners, is where we'll leave you today, here on this deep dive into the world of O1. We've talked about its incredible abilities, how it could change our world, and the big questions it raises about AI, about what it even means to be human. We may not have all the answers, but hopefully this has sparked your curiosity. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep your minds open to the amazing possibilities out there.